Product selection is the most important part about starting an Amazon FBA business, and product differentiation can be the trickiest part of picking the right product. My name's Scott, and in this video, we're going to discuss product differentiation, and I'm going to show you some pitfalls to avoid when trying to differentiate your offering. I've helped a number of new sellers when it comes to product selection. We'll sit down and look at a list of products and go over the numbers in a Chrome extension like Helium 10. You can look in Helium 10's X-ray to see the sales volume for a particular product, and you can see the competition based on the reviews for that market. If you want to try the Helium 10 Chrome extension, be sure to click the link in the description below. So we'll look at the numbers and we'll see that maybe it has a lot of sales and there's not a lot of competition. But the next question I always ask them is, how are you going to differentiate this offering? Now, a lot of times they haven't gone to that stage of the process, or if they haven't really come up with a good differentiating factor for their product offering. Now, what do I mean by differentiating the product? Now, there's several different ways you can do this, and I like to put them in basically two different categories. We have intrinsic value and we have perceived value. Let's say you're getting into the market of can openers, and all the can openers on the front page sell for $10. Now you've realized that you can add a bottle opener to the end of your can opener, and so your product has two features where everyone else on the market has one. If you also sell that product for $10, then you are giving them more intrinsic value because they're getting more bang for their buck. Perceived value can be a little trickier because it all depends on the eye of the buyer. For instance, if you spend a lot of money on packaging and marketing, then potential buyers may see this as being a valuable brand and one they can trust, as opposed to maybe someone who just bought a product off a dollar store shelf and is selling that. When you create increased perceived value, people are willing to spend more money for the product. This can sometimes simply be done by raising the price, but if someone sees a similar product on Amazon for a lower price, then they may just buy the lower one. So keep that in mind when going for perceived value. So what are some of the ways that you can differentiate your product? Well, as we mentioned before, you can add features to an existing product to make it better for the consumer. The more value they get out of a product, the more likely they are to buy your product offering. So with my previous example of the bottle opener and can opener, if they need both of those features and they can get them both for the same price as one of those features, then why wouldn't they buy yours? That is a great way to stand out above your competition. Now keep in mind that when you do create something new, you often need to have a new mold built at the supplier, and that can raise your startup costs. So if you're going to go with something brand new, you may need to have extra capital on hand to start that product. Another easy way to differentiate your product is to create a bundle. Now this can seem simple, but there are some nuances to it that you need to keep in mind. For instance, when you want to bundle two items together, you need to ensure that they complement each other. If they don't make sense together, then no one's going to buy that bundle because they won't need both of those products. Another thing to keep in mind though is that it's not always appropriate to create a bundle for your differentiating factor. And one strong example of this is a market where bundling is already the norm. Let's take for instance baby fidget toys. If you look at this market, almost every single listing on the front page is a bundle. And if you take the advice of Paul J. Savage, and if you haven't checked out his channel, definitely do so. He likes to recommend that you ask yourself this one question when looking at a market. Does this market need another option? So when we look at the first page for baby fidget toys and we see that almost every listing is already a bundle, it's going to be difficult to create a new bundle that is going to stand out. If you were to decide to create another bundle for this market, how are you going to make yours stand out from everyone else? Why is a buyer going to click on your listing as opposed to one of the ones that already exist in the market? I've seen a lot of new sellers fall into this trap where they see a market of bundles and they're going to create their own, and they think that because they may add a different aspect to the bundle that it's going to make it stand out, which is rarely the case. You need to look at the page yourself and say, what would I want to see on this, or what would a potential buyer want to see? Look at it from their point of view. Just because you know that your product listing has something different, it doesn't mean it's going to stand out to a potential buyer. Another thing I recommend, and I cannot stress this enough, is that whatever your differentiating factor is, make sure it is obvious in your main photo. One of the big problems I had with my first product is that my differentiating factor was I was going to make my product out of a stronger material, because a lot of the reviews I read were that the products would rip. So I thought if I made it a stronger material, then they wouldn't rip and people would enjoy them more, so they'd buy them more. What I didn't realize at the time was that it was very, very difficult to convey this in a main image. And as a result, my main image looked like all my competitors. I had no competitive advantage by spending more money on a stronger product. The only upside I had was that I may get better reviews once the person buys the product, But that's a later step. I need them to buy the product first, and that's what the differentiating factor is for, to get them to buy your product over your competition's. So whatever your differentiating factor is, make sure it is obvious in the main image. Do not leave it up to chance. Don't leave it as a detail in your title. Make sure that when someone looks at the image, they know exactly what the difference is between your product and what makes it better than everyone else's. Another thing to keep in mind is that a lot of people will think that they can save costs and differentiate by simply changing the color of an item. Now this can sometimes work, but more often than not, people won't care as much about the color of the spatula handle, and they'll just go for the cheapest one anyway. But also, that's a very easy differentiation to copy. A leader in the market could see that your red spatula is doing well, so maybe they'll just add a red spatula to their lineup, and then your competitive advantage is gone. Also, it's hard to say with certainty if a different color is going to succeed on Amazon because you're not sure if that's what people are looking for. It's not likely that you're going to see in the reviews that I wish this was red instead of blue, but if you do try it, you're basically just testing and seeing if it works, and that can be a lot of money just to test if the red one will work better than the blue one. For situations like that, you can use a service like PickFu, where you can put two products side by side, and PickFu will show those products to up to 50 people, and you will get all their responses and their rationale as to why they picked one over the other. This can be invaluable information because you can get the market research ahead of time before spending a ton of money on inventory. If you want to try PickFu, there's a link in my description where you can get 50% off your first order. Like I said at the start, product selection is the most important part of starting an Amazon FBA business, and you want to make sure that your product offering stands out well above and beyond your competition. If you have any other questions about product differentiation, please leave them in the comments below and I'll be sure to help. If you found this information helpful, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up so that we can have this video reach more people. And if you want to see more videos about running an Amazon FBA business, be sure to subscribe to see when I post a new video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.